Well, I think there are four. I call them the three A's or the four A's of transformation. And this is some thinking that it's relatively new as a mental model, wrapping up banking on change. The first is you got to gain awareness into typically where there's a challenge or where something hurts, and communicate that out to others within the organization, because that is going to inspire the greatest level of progress the farthest, the fastest. I've had to shift my own thinking of this over the years. Historically, it was, well, here's all of this amazing opportunity. No one cares. And there's some human behavior to that, because it's loss aversion theory. People are more likely to take action to avoid loss or pain than they are to achieve some type of gain. So when you communicate what that loss is, or you communicate what the pain is, then you're getting people's attention, you're increasing the awareness. The second is the acceptance of that. And this also works for just our own selves. Do we accept that new level of awareness? Do we accept that to be true? And a lot of times it's a binary. It's like, yeah, I accept it and I agree with it, or no, I don't. And if it's a no, then you can always go into a Socratic discussion of, well, why? Can you expand upon that? Can you tell me more? And that might uncover some things and can help. So let's say you have awareness. Let's say you have acceptance of this. Well, then you need some level of action. And the action, the hardest part of action is simply just getting started. And so many times it's like, if you can at least get something in momentum and get something moving, and you get the perception of progress, that helps to increase the courage and the confidence and the commitment of others within the organization, even of yourself. I mean, think about like setting goals, take action, just get moving, get going. Actually, I have an email in my inbox from the weekend that I've been wanting to go back in and read and do a little bit more reflection around. It's a newsletter called Brain Food. And it's some thinking from Dr. Jim Lohr. He's one of the world's foremost experts on mental toughness and performance psychology. Because if we think about what holds us back, more often than not, it's those four fires of fear that I wrote about in Banking on Change. Fear of the unknown, fear of change, fear of failure, fear of success. When it comes to taking action, how are you carrying yourself? Like your physical personification. What's your posture? What's your body language? And I want to read a little bit to you from this here, because Jim Lohr was interviewing one of the most famous bullfighters out of Spain, one of Matador. And he was asking this bullfighter, his name was Martin Vasquez, and he said, like, how do you stand in a ring with an animal that wants to gore you, wants to kill you? And one of the things he said, is it not obvious, Jim? He said, no, it's not obvious. He goes, and this is Martin Vasquez, he goes, have you ever seen a bullfighter in the ring show anything but supreme confidence? Have you ever seen them mope around with rounded shoulders saying, oh, I'm having a bad day. I don't feel like I'm on my game today, being negative, a little bit pessimistic and irritated because the bull is just not cooperating or whatever. He continues, he goes, we start training as a young boy at a very early age on how to walk, how to turn, how to carry our shoulders, where to put our eyes. Every single detail is done meticulously. The bull can see that. He knows that you have no fear and that you dominate the bull by your presence. We control fear by our physical presence. And I think that's where this last piece of the 4A's models comes into play. It is the accountability. If you think about accountability and you're going through some type of transformational effort initiative, I'm finding through both my own personal experience, but then also through the coaching that we're doing with other leaders, and then also just being involved in other entrepreneurial groups, it is all but impossible to try to hold yourself accountable. Now, it's possible. You can do it. But the level of energy required to see that transformation through, you will tire before you reach the territory of transformation that I'm writing about in Banking on Change. This is where having a cohort, having a group, accountability partner, even in a one-on-one situation, and simply communicating with them or the group, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do it by. But more importantly, this is why I'm doing it. Always coming back and connecting with the why, because that, when things get tough, when things get challenging, that is typically what will get us to the other side. Now, on a practical side, for me personally, one of the things that I've done this year, I've never done this before. I put together a 3-year, I've done 3-year before, I've done 5-year, but this year I did a 3-year vision. So I leaped ahead 3 years and I looked back to where I'm at today and I said, okay, I want all of these things to be true in 3 years. And so I wrote a 1-pager from a future state, really emotive-driven language, but then took that and personified it with visual imagery to create an action board. Not a vision board, but an action board. Big difference between a vision board and an action board, because this is about taking continuous action. I did this, my wife did this, my 4 kids did this. And we put up this action board in the hallway, and or all 6 of them. So there's a total of 6 of us. I walk by that action board, my own plus my kids and my wife, multiple times a day. Definitely going in and on the way out. I'm always seeing something. Something's always catching my eye, and it is a visual reminder into what the goal is from a future state. So it's always like the mind is always filtering what it is. And okay, one of them is to have a 6-pack for no other reason than I'm over 40 years old and I want a 6-pack. Never had one, but I want one. So I put the dude from 300 on there, and that has held me accountable because it has been in my conscious mind of, I can't eat this. I can't snack on this. And all I can say is that holding me accountable? Absolutely. But then I'm also involved in an entrepreneurial group. So I've communicated these goals with this entrepreneurial group. And that's just one. It's more of a superficial one. It's more of just like, you know what? Let me just see if that's possible. For no other reason, just to see if it's possible. And on top of that, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition like 14 years ago. And so health and wellness has always been an important element of my own personal narrative. So awareness, acceptance, action, small action, but definitely the accountability piece. Find someone or find a group that you can share this with, and they can check in on you. Because that's, to me, and if you're doing this as an organization, sometimes you need an objective outsider to hold you accountable because you're just too close to the situation. And it's easy to fall back into the previous perspective unconsciously and unknowingly, or, oh, we're too busy, or, oh, excuse. Well, the objective outsider really doesn't care at that point. They're there to hold you accountable to what you said you were going to do. And what does confidence come from? A confidence is the result of doing what I said I was going to do, or saying what I'm going to do, and then doing what I say I'm going to do. So it's about following through.